So this session is Nature for a Happy Mind, and we're joined with Sarah from Mental Health Ireland. And just before we get started, in case you haven't come across ECO-UNESCO before, we're a youth organisation that was founded way back in 1986, really old. Well, not really old, but really old for an organisation. And originally we were founded by a group of young people, and it was a club, and they started the club because they wanted to do stuff around the environment and need the space for it. And as time went on and the need grew for the group and the interest grew,
Okay.
so did the organization. And ooh, 2 seconds there. Just going to repeat them. And now a lot of what we do is youth education. So that's supporting young people to develop skills, education, and awareness around their environment through a huge range of different topics. So we are affiliated to UNESCO, which is something that I think a lot of people are often familiar with, which is kind of a World Cultural Heritage Preservation group that works all over the world. And we're a Sustainable Development Goals ambassador. So that means that the government's gone, good job. You do lots of stuff on the Sustainable Development Goals and you do it well. Great. It's just kind of a little bit of an encouragement for groups that do that. So today's session, where we have Sarah, and we're going to be looking at nature for a happy mind. So like nature isn't just beautiful, it's also good for our health. So in this session with Mental Health Ireland, we're going to explore how spending time outdoors can boost our mood, lower stress, and help us feel more connected. So this is connected to SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. And SDG 3 focuses on ensuring healthy lives, promoting well-being for all ages through strong health systems, disease prevention, and mental health support. So essentially, good health and well-being means quality care and healthy living for everyone so that people can thrive from childhood right up until old age. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Sarah, and she's going to take you through the session. So Sarah, welcome. Take the reins. I'm looking forward to it. And just to say, guys, if you have any questions, queries, comments, raise your hand, pop it in the chat, fire away. But yeah, sorry, Sarah, go on.
Great, thank you so much. So, hi guys, welcome. My name is Sarah, as you very kindly introduced me. And today, as you've mentioned, we're just going to spend a little bit of time exploring how nature helps our bodies, our minds, and our moods. So, I was lucky enough to grow up in the countryside in Ireland. So, I've always loved being outside. Climbing trees, swimming, camping, hiking were all big parts of my childhood. But the cool part that I learned when I got a little bit older is that being in nature and spending time in it actually helps our brains and our bodies to feel calmer and happier. So you might have heard a little bit about this over the last couple of years. People are really starting to realize that being outdoors is really good for us. So maybe this isn't a totally new concept to you, but yeah, we'll just explore a little bit more about it today together. So at a couple of different points, I'll be really curious to hear your own thoughts. You know, most of you are probably in classes. So yeah, if you want to have, when I mentioned popping into the chat, if you want to chat amongst yourselves in your class, and maybe your teacher or somebody from the class can pop into the chat, I would love that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit about how that happens, a little bit about the science behind it. We'll try a little activity together, and I'll give you some tips for ways that you can enjoy nature every day, whether that's in school, at home, on your own, or with your friends, whatever works. And the really important part about this session is there's no expectation on you. So when you're writing into the chat, there's no right or wrong answer. Don't need to be at the sea or at the beach to get the benefits from nature connection. So there's ways we can do this from indoors in our own homes, in our classrooms, in our schools, really, really simple ways. So just know that whatever green space you have access to is perfect through all that I'm going to chat through today. So first, yeah, it was really nice to hear that you're coming from all over the country. So thank you so much for writing in where you are. I'd love to just hear, as I'm chatting through the next little bit, um, do your schools have green spaces? Do you have grass? Maybe some of you don't. Do you have local parks that you would go to? What kind of nature spaces are available to you around the country? So you can just be writing in. Maybe some of you are from country schools where you can look out the windows to the mountains or the sea or whatever is close to you, or maybe you're urban, more inland schools. So yeah, whatever is available, I'd love to hear it. So first of all, I want to just tell you a little bit more about myself. So who am I? Like I said, I grew up surrounded by fields and trees in County Tipperary. I'm from a tiny little village called Kilsheelan, just outside Clonmel. And I really didn't think about living in the countryside when I was a child. I just knew that I loved exploring, adventuring, hiking, doing all those kinds of things. I just didn't think twice about it. So I was also always in scouts. So from the age of 9 right up to now, I'm still a leader. And as part of being in scouts, I was camping, hiking, building things out of wood, learning first aid, how to read maps, cooking over open fires. So I was really lucky to have these kind of fun outdoor activities built into my week all throughout my life. But when I get older, let's say age 19, I think we have some TY classes. So I was probably a little bit older than you. About age 19, after school, I moved to Cork City, to UCC, and I went to college there to study psychology. And over those years, I just realized I wasn't spending as much time outdoors anymore. Didn't have time to go to scouts back at home. I was busy studying and having fun, of course. And later on, I moved to Dublin. I did my master's in Trinity, and I ended up working in offices as a health researcher for the government. And while I love research, I'm going to share a little bit of it with you today. I did start to feel a little bit of this disconnect, and I noticed I wasn't feeling as happy or energetic as before. So what I did was I thought back to when I felt my best, and I was like, okay, Scouts was something that I loved. So I rejoined Scouts, and within the first month, I was back out camping in the Dublin Mountains with them, and this light bulb went off in my head. Waking up in a tent out in nature reminded me how good I feel being outdoors. And I realized, okay, I'm feeling better here in the tent on a mountain than I do in my job. So something's got to change. I want to do something like this with my life. So I spent some time over the next few years. This was in 2019. So I was studying things like, I don't know if you've heard before of forest bathing, wild therapy, ecotherapy, eco-psychology. I spent a year studying all of these things. They were kind of new concepts in Ireland at the time. The whole idea behind all of them, they all sound very similar, but the idea behind all of them is that it's just ways to help people reconnect to nature for the benefit of their health and well-being. And in 2020, I started my own business called Nature Therapy Ireland. And now I also work with the charity Mental Health Ireland, and we run a program called Woodlands for Health that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about in a couple of minutes. So everything I do now is part of my job. I'm really lucky. Some days I'm on events like this with you guys. Sometimes I'm doing a little bit of admin work behind the scenes, but often my office is a forest or a mountain, or I'm outdoors in a park with a group, and I feel very, very lucky that I get to be outdoors as my job. So I can personally tell you how amazing nature is. I know myself that if I'm feeling worried or anxious or sad, which happens to all of us, that's something that really, really helps me to come back to myself, to feel grounded and connected, is to go to nature. And that's not going to be the only thing that I do. There's lots of other things I engage with too to make myself feel good. But nature is part of that toolkit for me. You can see on screen there some pictures of me out in nature as a kid, camping. And even now, more recently, I love to travel and hike and do things like that. So that's loads of information about me. We've had a few other people join us. Thank you so much. So there's one school that has a football pitch and a farm and a garden all near ye in Donegal. That's amazing. Ye are obviously blessed, because I'm sure we have some town or city schools as well that just don't have as much access to green spaces. So yeah, amazing, guys. Really, really amazing. So, okay, let's move on. Let's chat a little bit about why nature is good for us. So, okay, let's dive a little deeper into this together. So we're talking about why nature is good for us. And when I say that, I don't just mean, as I said, big forests, wide open oceans, or tall mountains. I mean connecting to nature as close as you can to your school or your home. So this could be, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, maybe some of you have a balcony with some plants on it maybe, or maybe you live in an apartment where there's a little green area in the middle. Any sort of kind of patch of greenery, or even your yard at school, if that's what nature is available to you. So first off, being in nature really helps our bodies and our minds, and scientists have studied this now. So let's start with feeling stressed. I'm sure most, if not all of you, at one point or another might have experienced some worry or stress, whether that might be exams in school or something going on at home, or maybe you have a big match coming up if you play sport. It's a really normal part of life, but sometimes it can get a little bit too much and it starts to impact us. So if you've ever noticed that maybe you were stuck inside all day at school, then all evening at home you had lots of homework to do, maybe you had some chores to help out with, maybe that made you feel a bit tense or frustrated, or just lots of energy kind of stuck in your body. Then think about a time maybe where you were outdoors, maybe you were out with friends kicking a ball, or out walking if you had access to walk on a beach or in a forest, or maybe even in a park in your town. And the difference between that feeling, maybe you just felt a little bit more space in your chest. Maybe you could feel the sunshine on your face. You could hear some birds singing. Maybe you just notice that your body might feel a little bit more relaxed in that state. So your shoulders might drop down a little bit. Your heartbeat might be a little bit slower. Your brain starts to say, I'm feeling a bit more relaxed in this space. And that's your stress levels turning down a little bit. And this is all based in science and research now, just showing us that by spending time in nature, we don't have to do anything in particular. It's really, really good for our health and well-being. So next, your mood can get a little bit brighter. So think of it like your brain is getting a little sunshine boost. So science is showing us now that even a short walk outdoors can make us feel happier and more positive. Scientists have measured it now, and people are reporting feeling these ways after spending even just a little bit of time in nature. So next time you're feeling a bit frustrated or anxious or worried, maybe instead of scrolling on your phone or your iPad or looking at TV, you could just step outside even for 15 minutes and notice the nature around you. I promise you it will have a really beneficial impact. I know I'm the same myself. I spend a lot of time on screens. It's just part of our lives now, and it's unavoidable, but it's nice to mix in some other things where we can. And an interesting one, I think my slides have gotten a little, some of the text gone off screen. I think they've gone a little funny, but what I'll do is we can send them around to the teachers afterwards if you want to have a look at
I
them.
can see them well.
Okay.
I hope other people can too, but
Perfect. They're just a little bit zoomed in. Maybe it's the way I have them here. Perfect. That's great. So another interesting one is your energy levels can rise up. So maybe you've experienced this yourselves, guys, when maybe you're out in nature and you spend a bit of time maybe walking or hanging out with friends or playing a match or whatever you're doing. And suddenly you feel this energy of you either want to run or explore or figure out something new. That's nature just giving you a little bit of a boost. So it's your brain scientifically getting more oxygen. Your body can stretch out a little bit, and suddenly you can feel a bit more alive. It's not just in our heads. The research is all telling us this now. Spending time in any green space can lower our stress, help us to focus better, and can even boost our immune systems. So it's not just our imagination. Nature really can change things inside of us. Okay, so let's do a little quick check-in here now. So in your classrooms, I'd love for you to close over your eyes just for a moment. Just take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. With your eyes closed, just imagine being what I mentioned there, being indoors all day. So inside all day, learning all day at school, which can be really tiring. At home, maybe you're on your phone or watching TV, you're doing your homework. Well, how does that feel in your body? Sometimes it can make us feel a bit tired, lack of energy, lack of motivation. Indoors all day. And now switch it up. So you can imagine maybe you're spending time in your favorite place in nature, wherever that is. You can feel some sun or some wind. You can hear the birds or some leaves rustling. What's the difference there? What differences do we notice when we spend a lot of time indoors or even a little time outdoors? Is there any word popping into your head there that might describe how you feel outdoors? So I'd love if you could have a chat about that in your classes and just into the chat write in a few words, words that you feel when you spend some time outdoors. So I'm going to stick mine in first. And you can stick a few in, have a chat. How do you feel when you are spending time outdoors? I'm sure you guys will have loads of good suggestions. So my own word is refreshed. I know that I always just feel a bit re-energized. Yeah, great, lovely, thank you. That's a great one. Just gives us that little boost, doesn't it? Relaxed, lovely. Yeah, really, really nice. And we're not always going to get these when we're outdoors. We won't always get these words. Calm is a lovely one as well. Beautiful, really, really nice. But it's just lovely. Happy, peaceful, relaxed. Thank you, guys. Relaxed is another one. Thank you, Eva, and calm. Yeah, brilliant. Oh my God, yeah, you guys you're already nature connection whizzes in this call. This is great. Tranquil is a great word. Yeah, beautiful. So you're really describing this kind of magic of nature connection here. Brilliant. So this is a great kind of powerful, small but powerful way to notice that nature can really affect us. Free, someone just wrote in the word free, freedom. Yeah, beautiful. Really, really lovely. Thank you guys. That's amazing. Really appreciate hearing from you in the chat. So you don't need, as I said, you don't need a big adventure. Even noticing small things, maybe on your walk to school, noticing maybe flowers in the hedges. Recently, some of you, if you're from the country, or even some in cities or towns, you might have noticed there was loads of blackberries in the brambles. Just noticing whatever is around us on our way to school, listening to the birds sing or sitting under a tree. For some of us, it might feel a little funny or strange if we start to do it, or that somebody's looking at us, or a little bit weird. But this is stuff that we were all doing as kids, and it's something nice to kind of invite back in. So next time you have a few minutes, I invite you to just step outside and pay attention. Even close your eyes, take a breath. Just notice what's around you, the colors, the sounds, the smells. Autumn is an amazing time for this because we have the colors all changing on the leaves. So I'm looking out my window here. I'm in Rathfarnham in Dublin. And right now I can see the blue sky, the white clouds that are moving across. I can see green trees, but the leaves are all starting to turn. So they're browns, oranges, yellows, russet reds, other types of reds, and some of them are slowly starting to begin to go crispy and crunchy. So that's another sense we can take it in through our sense of hearing the sounds we can hear. You'll hear them under your feet as well. So have a think about that next time you're outdoors today. Okay, that's loads about why nature is good for us. I have a research background, so I find it really interesting. As I said, I was a health researcher for the Department of Health, and it's just really important to me when we talk about all this. It's easy for us to say research shows or scientists tell us, but what do they tell us, and why are they telling us this? So,
Sarah, just to flag, sorry, might be worth sharing, or like sharing the slides again, maybe, or just taking, I don't know if I still have control. I'm just seeing that they aren't moving. I'm not sure
okay,
if that's
cool.
just me though. If it's just me, one of the schools, if you could let me know. But I just wanted to make sure that they were seeing the stuff as
Okay,
well.
cool. So we should be on one now that says the science and why it's cool. Can people see that one? Can you see that one, Mar? Maybe I can.
I can't, but if the
Okay, cool.
schools can, please let us know. Ah, I had to click sync to presenter. Is everyone else okay? Okay, no. Sarah, maybe would it be worth if I'm just going to reshare them again and
I can share them from here, I think.
oh, okay, perfect. If that might work, just so that we definitely have them
Here, guys.
in
Okay,
control
cool.
and stuff.
What we did was we added, I think we added my slides onto yours, and maybe that's
Yeah.
okay. Let's see what I could share here. Technical difficulties. Bear with us for a minute. Window. Okay. Let me open this up here. 13 to 18. And slideshow and set up. Okay.
Sorry about this now.
No, sorry. Okay, now can you see that?
Wait a second. I think she's buffering. Yes, go for it. Fire away.
See that? Okay, so you missed out on all my slides. Don't worry. Okay, so this was my slide about who I am. These are, you didn't see any of these, did you, Mar?
I think some of the schools had synced, so they were able to see it.
Yeah,
But what we can do is we can circulate the slides as well so that
of
they have
course, of
access.
course.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this was the one about why nature is good for us, and then we're just at this point now. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so now that we know nature is good for us, I think it's really important to like give the background behind that. I always kind of want to drill down and find a little bit more information. So maybe some of you will become researchers after you finish up in school. It's really interesting stuff going on in Ireland at the moment. So you're not going to see some of these things with your eyes, but it's really cool to understand that they are here working away in the background. So the first thing you'll see on screen there is trees release something called phytoncides. So phytoncides are something that you can imagine when you're standing around trees. Are some of you, I'm sure you're familiar with an essential oil diffuser. You know, it diffuses kind of water vapor into the air. You can imagine that every tree all the time is doing that. We just can't see it. So from the whole trunk of the tree, it's releasing this into the air, and it's called phytoncides. And why the tree does this? The tree does this so it can defend against the tree decaying, decomposition, maybe an insect infestation. It's for the general health and well-being of the tree. And what happens is we breathe them in. So when we're standing around the tree is just naturally doing this for its own health and well-being, and we are breathing them in. So when we humans breathe them in, they are amazing for our health and well-being. So research has shown us that when we breathe phytoncides in, it improves the health of our heart, so it can reduce our blood pressure and our pulse rate. Hopefully most of you won't have problems with that just yet. It can reduce the hormone in our bodies called cortisol, and that makes us feel stress. It can also boost our immune systems. So by simply being around trees and breathing in the air, you can boost the production of natural killer cells and white blood cells that make up your immune system, which is really cool. So you don't have to be doing anything in a forest or in a park when you're gardening amongst the trees, just simply breathing. It's really, really interesting. So another such way is the bacteria in soil. You might have heard this if you're doing science in school, you might have heard this one. So there's friendly bacteria in the soil, and that can boost our mood and help our brains to focus. So it means that maybe in school, if you were planting some flowers, if you were doing that at home, if you're doing some digging in the garden, or even just outside while touching the earth, you might be giving your brain a natural little boost to improve your mood and increase your focus. So it's really cool to just have a think about these things that we might not think too deeply about, by just simply doing them, you're doing something amazing. So nature sounds is a really cool one at the moment. There's loads of research happening in this space. So what they're doing is doctors and surgeons are experimenting. So when they're doing surgeries or procedures in hospitals, they're just playing nature sounds in the background for half the group, and the other group don't get any sounds in the background. And what they're finding is the people who have nature sounds played during the time that they're in hospital for their procedure or their surgery, they recover faster, they have a better experience, they'd be happy to do the procedure again, and it's just an overall better experience for them in hospital, which is really, really interesting. And the quicker recovery rates too is amazing. So just have a think about that. Really, really simple ways that we can add a little bit of, I suppose, context to our nature connection. So listening to nature sounds can calm our brains, reduce our stress, and even make us feel happier. So next time you hear a bird chirping or leaves rustling, remember that's nature's way of helping your mind just chill out a little bit. So nature is like a free tool. I like to think that I have a mental health care toolkit. There's lots of things that I can do if I'm not feeling great in my mind. I know that I need to sleep better. I know I need to eat food that's going to give my body the nutrients that it needs. Sometimes in our lives, it's good to reach out and go and do some therapy sessions if we've access to that. And a big one for me is spending time in nature. I know that it will help me feel much, much better. So something to have a little bit of a think about. We just need to spend a bit of time with this to unlock these benefits. So the learning here is that science shows us that nature, it's not just pretty to look at, it's actively working to help you feel happier, calmer, and more focused, all without even knowing it. So next time you're outside, remember you're activating all these amazing invisible benefits for your brain and your body. And the more you notice them, we practice it, the stronger your connection to nature will get. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about my background. We've talked a little bit about how nature is good for us. We've talked a little bit about the science behind nature connection. And I just want to chat a little bit about the project that we do in Mental Health Ireland called Woodlands for Health. So did you know that in some parts of the world, your doctor, your physiotherapist, your psychotherapist, your counselor, any type of clinician in the medical health space, they might say, and for the country that started in was Japan, they might give you anything you get here in Ireland. So a couple of physio exercises, maybe some counselling sessions, maybe some medication from your doctor. But what they'll also do is they'll prescribe you time in a forest in the next 6 weeks. So you might get 10 hours in the forest in the next 6 weeks, also written on your prescription. And that's called social or green prescribing. And it's kind of traveled the world now. It's this idea of looking at health from a big picture way, a holistic way, big picture way. After you're getting a checkup, and it's been really considered part of the healthcare system all over the world. In Japan, they have 64 dedicated forest bathing forests that are part of their healthcare system, which I think is pretty cool. Here in Ireland, we have a program called Woodlands for Health, and it's a bit like considering nature as part of a healthcare toolkit. So what we do is we take groups of about 20 people. We bring them on guided walks in the woods every week for 12 weeks. We have our leaders that bring out the groups, and they know all about the local flora, the fauna, the history. They might add in a bit of meditation, a bit of forest bathing. And these walks aren't just about exercise. They're about giving people the chance to relax and recharge and join a community. As I've said, the science that I just explained to you, it's showing us that spending time in forests can really help us to reduce stress, make us feel happier, and even more connected. So using nature as part of health and well-being, and that's what we're trying to do as part of the Woodlands for Health project. I work with Mental Health Ireland, Quilcha, and a group called Get Ireland Walking to offer this. So now I want you guys to just have a think. So I know we have kind of varying age groups here, but I'd love for you to have a little bit of a chat amongst yourselves about when you are out in the woods. What is, if that's something you've ever had access to before, if you haven't been in a forest before, definitely chat about an urban park, maybe if there's some trees there, even in your school yard. What are things that you're kind of first thinking of doing when you're out in the forest? So I'd love to hear some examples into the chat. So when you're out on a woodland walk, what would you do first? Maybe you would run across the trails. Maybe you're somebody who loves to climb a tree. Maybe you're somebody who builds forts out of logs and twigs and sticks, or maybe you're someone who prefers to look for birds or insects. So yeah, I'd love to hear in the chat, what are things that you would do if you were in a forest? Just give you a second to write in there. Maybe you're someone who would just sit down and listen to the sounds around you, or maybe you'd be much more energy, thrashing around and running around. There's no right or wrong way here. Just take a minute to picture it in your mind. What would be the first thing you would do? Or maybe you're somebody who would be in a forest and you wouldn't know what to do. It's not something that might come naturally to you if it's not something you've ever had access to. Nature is for all of us. There's no right or wrong way. The key thing to remember is that nature is like a special free tool that we can all use to make ourselves feel better. And the Woodlands for Health programme that we have in Dublin, where we run from Dublin but all over the country, it's just to encourage people to have safe, fun way that they can spend time in nature. Go for a run. So this is coming in from Martin, so go for a run or walk barefoot. That's an amazing example. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's brilliant. walking barefoot is amazing. So you might have heard of that concept of grounding. So there's this whole other concept, I wasn't even going to mention it today, but that's a great suggestion. So grounding is where we connect our physical bodies to the electromagnetic field on the surface of the earth, which we would have done before we had shoes. Humans would have not had the piece of rubber disconnecting them from the earth. And walking barefoot is an amazing way to bring sometimes your energy can be in your chest, your neck, your head, intense kind of anxious energy. Grounding with your shoes off on the floor, on the ground, is an amazing way to bring your energy down if you're feeling anxious or worried or a little bit stressed. Brilliant example. So coming in from Alison, look at the different leaves and branches and take in the different sounds. Beautiful. And autumn is an amazing time for that one. Thank you so much. Walking through the trees from Anya Scally. Yeah, beautiful, gorgeous. From Michelle O'Neill, walking. From Aoife, roast marshmallows with scouts, climb a tree, find a lake, cycle, or play in the leaves. I want to go to the forest with you guys. Those are great suggestions. Also coming in from Anya, climbing the trees. You guys sound like a really adventurous bunch. Those sound absolutely amazing. Brilliant examples there. Thank you so much. Love to hear that some other people are in scouts. That's great. So yeah, I love all these examples. It's wonderful to see these things kind of continuing throughout our lives. So I don't know, somebody else is just typing in there, so we'll wait for their response and we'll move on to the next little piece. This whole idea is so simple. It's so simple. This isn't rocket science at all. To benefit from nature connection, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's just about finding the parts of it that you enjoy. We'll all enjoy different things, and finding the parts of it that you enjoy and kind of bringing that into your everyday or your week. So I don't know if as classes you've tried anything before, maybe like meditation or visualization, or maybe you've done some yoga. I know some schools do that, or even maybe you just take a couple of quiet minutes during the day. Maybe not. No problem if you've never done that together. So for the next few minutes, we're going to try a little bit of nature visualization together. So my next slide is almost blank because we're going to be closing our eyes. So we're just going to try this for the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 minutes. So in your classrooms, what I do ask you to do is, if something like this is not of interest to you, that is no problem. But what I do invite you to do is don't disturb your neighbor who you're sitting beside, just in case this is something that might be of interest to them. So for the next couple of minutes, we're going to go on an adventure together in our minds in nature. Oh, sorry, I've moved on to my last slide. So you don't need to leave your chair. We just need to be as quiet as we can. And I'm going to ask you to close over your eyes just for 2 to 3 minutes in a way that feels right, so we can imagine nature together. So with your eyes closed, just get yourself kind of comfortable in your seat. You might need to move around your muscles a little bit here and there. I invite you to take a big, slow, deep breath in. Fill your chest, your lungs, and abdomen, and sigh it out through your mouth to release the air from your body. Inhaling deeply in through your nose and exhaling completely through your mouth. Breathing in and breathing out. I want you to imagine in your mind, with your eyes closed, that we are stepping into a fairy tale forest. The air is cool and fresh, like it feels just after it has rained. Maybe you can feel it on the skin of your cheeks. Maybe this fresh air tickles your nose because it smells so clean and earthy. Look around in your imagination. What do you see? Maybe you see huge, tall trees reaching up to the sky, their leaves sparkling in the sunlight. Some are still waxy and green, and some of the leaves have turned gold, red, orange, and brown, putting on an autumn show for us. Looking closely, you can see tiny little mushrooms hiding under the fallen leaves on the forest floor. Maybe a little squirrel darts across a branch, or a happy little bird hops from tree to tree. Now listen carefully. What can you hear? There's the soft rustle of the leaves as the wind whispers through the branches. Maybe you can hear a babbling stream somewhere nearby. Maybe birds are singing or a woodpecker is tapping on a tree. You might even hear your own footsteps on the soft, mossy carpet of grass beneath your boots. Take a big, deep breath in through your nose. What can you smell? Fresh grass, wet earth, pine needles, maybe even the scent of some of the wildflowers that are hanging on since the summer. Maybe there's a sniff of something sweet, like berries still hiding in the bushes. Now imagine walking a little deeper into your forest. Feel the ground under your feet, soft and springy with moss. Some of the leaves crunching underfoot. You notice a sunbeam breaking through the canopy overhead, warming your face. Maybe for you, a butterfly flits past, or a tiny frog is hopping on a log. Just pause for a moment here in the forest and take in a big, deep breath. Let your mind explore all the little details. And let your imagination create even more than I've offered. What are you noticing? On the track up ahead, you notice an animal crossing now. Any type of animal you like. It is friendly and really happy that you're here in the forest with it. Imagine you can talk to your animal. What animal is it, and what would it say? You are part of the forest here now, noticing everything around you, feeling calm, connecting to nature, feeling the sun on your skin, the gentle breeze across your cheek, the sound of all the wildlife surrounding you, the crunch of the leaves underfoot, the springiness of the moss. With your eyes still closed, let's take in another big, deep breath in through your nose. Imagine it's reaching all the way down to your toes before we breathe it back out. Breathing in and out one more time. You can begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can move that movement up into your wrists and your ankles. You can turn your head all the way from one side to the other side. And I'll always invite you to give a big, delicious stretch. So put your arms up overhead and stretch from the tips of your fingers all the way down to your toes. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and rejoin us. And I just would love for you to think about what part of the forest felt strongest for you. So there's no right or wrong answer here. What did you notice? Maybe it was a sound, a smell, a colour, an animal, maybe even a feeling. And I'll get your teachers or whoever's in the chat to pop in a few things that were coming up for you in the forest. And then we'll move on to our second last slide. The amazing thing is you can do this anytime you need a little break. You can just take a couple of minutes, take a few deep breaths, and you can have a little mini adventure in nature in your mind, even if you're sitting at home or in school. And all the science is telling us that even connecting to nature indoors in this way, our imaginations are so powerful. It's incredible what we can do to calm our own bodies by even remembering or imagining time in nature together. And as I said before, the more you practice, the easier it becomes to notice these tiny details and help you to kind of calm your nervous system to make you feel a little calmer. So, yeah, what parts of the forest were most notable to you? There's no right or wrong way here. So as you write those in, I'm going to move on to our second last slide, and we can come back to those. So, ways to connect to nature every day. So here's the really cool thing. As I said, I've kept saying it the whole time. You don't need a big forest. You don't need a vast ocean or a tall mountain to feel the benefits of nature. There's little ways you can do this every day. So the main one I'm going to invite you to do after this session today, when either this evening or over the weekend, is choosing a sit spot. So this is going to be a place outdoors where you go regularly, maybe under a tree, on a bench, a little corner of your balcony or your garden or your yard at school. You're going to visit this regularly and sit down and do what we've done. Tune into your different senses. There's no right or wrong way here, as I say. You might notice the buds in the spring, the crunchy leaves in the autumn, or a new bird chirping nearby. Your sit spot becomes kind of like an old friend. It's always changing, but it's always there. And it's somewhere you can keep returning to. And you really start to notice the seasons change really slowly. Maybe this is something you could even do as a class. You could choose a sit spot and go out to it sometimes, and when you have space between all the learning that you're doing, and just take a few minutes to tune into your senses. So my sit spot is in my parents' garden. It's on a bench under a tree, and I go and I sit there with my morning cup of tea. That's what I love to do. So yeah, why don't you choose one for yourself this weekend? Another way you can do it is by simply noticing nature. So we've practiced that just there, our little nature connection. But what you can do is out in nature, you can actually do that through your senses. So all your senses can be connected to in nature. I guess eating is the least one that we can do here in Ireland, but maybe we're lucky enough to get some blackberries on the bushes over the last little while. And thirdly, you can bring some nature indoors. So if you can't get outside every day, I know we all can't, you can even still connect to nature in your home or in your classroom. So bringing in a couple of plants, house plants, you can even give them names, and you can even play nature sounds when you're doing that at home. And 15 minutes is just about enough time. So we're just coming to the end of our session now. So if anybody had any questions or thoughts or anything to write in, we would be delighted to answer them. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a lovely session to share with you. And yeah, I challenge you to notice nature around you next time you are out and about. Thanks, guys. Feel free to pop any questions or even send them across to us. And we will send you those slides as well. Apologies, those weren't working at the start. Super.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I know we're kind of coming up to time, but if you have any quick questions, let us know. And if not, like you can pop them over to Sarah at Mental Health Ireland. The email's there. Just very briefly, because we're actually coming to the end of the week, so this is a little less relevant now. But I'll just share a quick little just finishing note from the ECO-UNESCO side of things. So let's say you have gotten a load of ideas from this. Hopefully you've been inspired. It was really nice to have something like this at the end of the week, I think. Very, very calming. But if you're interested in like maybe exploring some of these topics a bit more in your school or your community, that we have a program called the Young Environmentalist Awards that basically supports young people to develop projects in their schools, communities, localities. And the Young Environmentalist team are fab. So if this is something that might be of interest to you, definitely check that out. If you want to learn a bit more about other sides of nature, the environment, we run a load of different workshops on things like fast fashion, marine life, biodiversity, climate justice, loads of different things. So if you want something in your school sometime, get in touch. And then let's say you want to find like-minded people outside of the school environment. We have a few groups. We have one on climate justice, we have another on sustainable development, and there's also the opportunity to start your own ECO-UNESCO club if that is something you'd like, where you can maybe explore some of the topics that Sarah's discussed. And yeah, so if you have any interest in doing something like that, feel free to let us know. And yeah, one thing, and you'll be emailed this via Eventbrite, but just really encourage you to give feedback. So we run Eco Week every year, and every year we try to make it better and improve it and to bring in topics that you've asked for in previous years. So if you have any feedback, do let us know. And then just to let you know, we have one last session later today, which is what if waste could be useful with Biorbic. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end. If you have any questions, get in touch. And yeah, thank you so much to Sarah. That was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I really hope you guys did too. And yeah, hope you have a lovely rest of the day and a lovely weekend. And yeah, see
Thanks,
you again
guys.
soon.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.